I just finished shaping the sides for the back attaching to this particular guitar. Okay, looking down on this, we can see that I've got a very tall lining. The key here is that it's arched this way and this way the same. With this board, we can see that the waist is higher than the tail or the head block. You can see that there's quite a difference in that. Now, how did I do this? Well, I did this with a method that I've used for a long time, and that is I created a giant sanding block, and it's arched the same way in both directions. Now, this is very similar to some commercial dishes that you can get, and I've actually got one. This particular dish you can buy for $100 and something, and it's nicely CNC'd to the same shape. Okay, so here you would affix sandpaper to this, and then you would put this over here and you do all this kind of stuff. This was made by Canadian Luthier Supply and is a 15-inch radius. I built this, I don't know, 15 years ago, a long time ago, and just taped sandpaper to it and moved it back and forth this way and back and forth this way, and this is the result. Now, that's not really the technique I use, and I want to show that technique, and I'm going to turn this around and do the same thing to the other side, and you'll see how I do it. So the first thing I do is I use this little Coons palm plane, and I take off the excess. Okay, now I want to have this area here be the same height as the lining. The areas over here and over here are going to be lower, so I'm just going to use the plane to take those down. I've used my plane and I've brought the sides down to the level of the lining. There's going to start out to be a large gap right here. I don't know if you can see that, but it's about 1/4 inch right here. And that means what we need to do is to start out and find out where in fact we need to come down. Now, from doing this a lot, I can tell you exactly where that's going to be. It's going to start out in this area here and in this area here. That's where initially it's going to start sanding. Now, because I want to make sure of that, I go ahead and run a line all the way around on the lining, the top part of the lining, and that will show me exactly where the sandpaper is taking this off. And for the most part, I'm using this primarily just to show me where to take more wood off. And I'm going to still be taking it off with the plane. Okay, so all I've done here is see where is this going down and where isn't it. Primarily, at this point, I'm seeing there's a little bit coming from here there's a fair amount coming from here and a fair amount coming from here. So this is low, this is a bit lower. Okay, so I'm going to start out taking it off of the places that it was taking the most off with the sandpaper. So I'm going to come over here, take a few scoops there. There's a tiny bit here, right over there. And then there's this, which is right there. And I can see from doing this that I've got a little ways to go here. We can just see it's high here and here, it's low here and here. So we'll continue to do this and continue to take away the areas that are high until we get this all the way down. And hopefully about that same time we're going to be about level with this in the center. Remember, we've got this arch going this way, this arch going this way, so the outside edges are going down, the ends are going down, and the center will just barely get to that at the end. And as always, you need to go with the grain or you'll be tearing it out. It helps if you double check before you put the binding or the lining in what direction the grain runs, because you want it hopefully to run the same direction as your sides, or else this is going to be a lot of fun. So again, I'm going to run the pencil around again after I do this next cut, just to make sure I see everything. Now over here, I'm seeing that I'm starting to sand away this outside edge and this outside edge, which is good. We want this balanced. We want to have roughly the same thickness on both sides of each bout. One thing you might notice is that I've angled this piece here. I generally want the block to have the same thickness here as the lining. This is a fairly thin lining, so the block is taken down quite a ways at an angle, and then that means I'm only sanding that part that's going to be contacting the back. So I'm almost there. I have a section here that's fairly long, but still needs to get hit with the sandpaper, and then a section here that's fairly short. Now the reason for that was that given my setup, this side had dropped a little bit. I've now put a clamp under there so that shouldn't drop. The other thing that's always an issue is if you've got any kind of extension, like this extension here that's going to go under the prep board, it has a tendency to take a long time to work down, and so it will become high. And then as you're scraping away, you might go one side or another and not get this. So let me show, I'm not sure if this shows up well, but right there you can see that there's a high spot right here. We go along here, pretty much high across this whole area, and so on down the line. So I'm going to have to work this down starting, starting at the high spots. And of course, where are the high spots? Well, there's a few ways you can do this. And one of them is to use what's called carbon paper. Now, those of you who have never used a typewriter don't know what this is, but and they used to use this with the old style typewriters to make duplicate copies. That's all passé now, but it is something that is very useful and it's still available. So we'll use our handy little plane here and take some of that down. Wrap this around again. And you can see where we've got some high spots. Take those off again. And so on down the line until it's where it should be. And then we go back over this, work it down to where it's even, and then we're done. Completed on both sides. A little sawdust in the kerfs. But that's it. And we have the fattest part of the guitar is right here. Right where the waist is. It's where we want it. And we're ready to go on to putting the back and the top on it.